I never believed a lake could remember you. That was before Stillwater. It started with an envelope, aged and yellowed, no return address, sealed with wax. I wasn't the only one who got it. My brother Ben and our friends Maya and Daniel each received the same thing. Inside was just a single line, scrawled in shaky ink. Come back, you belong here. None of us had ever heard of Stillwater Lake. At first, we laughed it off. A prank, probably. But Daniel changed. He began having dreams of a black lake surrounded by trees, with voices calling from beneath the surface. He said he'd felt that place before, like a memory buried too deep to be real. Against every instinct, we went looking for it. We found the name Stillwater buried in the corner of an old national forest map. It wasn't listed on our phones. No signal, no recent trails marked, but we followed the overgrown path deep into the forest anyway. It got colder the farther we walked, unnaturally cold. The sun never fully reached the ground. Birds vanished, bugs vanished. It was like the forest itself was holding its breath. Then we found it. Stillwater Lake wasn't like anything I'd seen before. The surface was black, not just dark. Black, like ink. Not a ripple, not a sound. And the trees around it leaned too close, their bark scratched and scarred, like something inside the lake had clawed to get out. When I looked at the water, I saw my reflection, but it didn't move when I did. It blinked a second after I did. It tilted its head slightly, just a bit too far. I gasped and backed away. But Daniel walked closer. He stood at the edge, staring like he'd just seen a long-lost home. And then, in a voice I barely recognized, he whispered, "I've been here before." Even now, I can still hear the silence of that lake, how loud it was. I still see that twisted reflection of myself when I close my eyes. I don't know what we woke up that day, but I know it's still watching. And I'm still trying to forget. Still trying to convince myself it wasn't real, but I know better now. I left the lake, but something from it followed me back. And I don't think I'll ever escape it. I'm still living in fear, still in trauma. That night, we made camp near the lake. I didn't want to stay, but Daniel insisted. Said he needed to remember more. What that meant, none of us knew, and honestly, none of us wanted to ask. The fire did little to chase away the cold. It felt like the forest was leaning in, listening. The silence was too complete. No insects, no wind, no owls. Just the occasional drip of water from the trees, even though it hadn't rained. Sometime after midnight, I woke up suddenly. I couldn't breathe. My chest was tight. It felt like something was pressing down on me. Then I realized I was underwater. But when I sat up, I was still in my sleeping bag, gasping, drenched in sweat. Across from me, Daniel was gone. I grabbed my flashlight and whispered his name. No answer. Maya and Ben woke up groggy and confused, and together we followed a trail of footprints leading toward the lake. The weird part? There were two sets, one going out and one coming back in. But Daniel hadn't returned. We reached the lake's edge, and that's when we saw it. Daniel was standing knee-deep in the water, staring at something beneath the surface. His lips were moving like he was talking, but no sound came out. I called to him, but he didn't turn around. I ran to grab his arm, and the moment I touched him, he screamed. It wasn't fear, it was pain. Like touching me burned him. He fell backward into the water, flailing like something had grabbed his ankles. Ben jumped in after him, pulled him out. Daniel thrashed wildly, coughing and yelling, "Don't touch me! She's still down there." We froze. She? Ben tried to calm him, but Daniel's eyes were wide and glazed. "She remembers me," he whispered. "She's waiting for me to come back. She's angry we left her." We didn't sleep the rest of the night. At sunrise, Daniel was quiet. Too quiet. He wouldn't speak, wouldn't eat. He just stared at the lake. And then we noticed something horrifying. There were 4 reflections on the water, but only 3 of us were standing there. Something is wrong with Daniel. Something came out of that lake with him. Or maybe he didn't come out at all. I want to leave, but the paths are different now. Twisting, endless. I feel like the forest is trying to keep us here, and I don't know if we'll all make it out alive. We tried to leave at dawn. The map was useless. Every trail curved back toward the lake no matter which direction we took. Trees stood differently now, twisted like bone, and bark had fused into unnatural shapes. The sky never brightened past a dull grey, and Daniel wasn't Daniel anymore. He didn't blink. He didn't speak unless the lake was in view. And whenever we turned away, he'd wander back toward the water like something was calling him home. Maya finally snapped. She screamed at him, slapped him, begged him to snap out of it. But he just smiled, a cold, unfamiliar smile, and whispered, "You'll hear her too, eventually." We decided to tie Daniel's hands with a cord from our gear and keep moving. But by midday, he was gone. No noise, no struggle, just vanished. In his place, we found a trail of wet footprints leading deeper into the woods, away from the lake this time. We followed. I wish we hadn't. The forest changed the farther we went. Roots curled above ground like veins, and the air grew thick, heavy, like we were breathing through wool. The temperature dropped suddenly, our breaths fogging even though it was summer. Then the whispers started. They didn't come from behind or in front. They came from inside. They spoke in voices we recognized. Daniel's, my mother's, even. Ben's own voice spoke back at him, telling him secrets he never shared aloud. That's when Ben ran. He bolted into the trees, screaming for it to stop. Maya and I chased him, but the forest split. Literally, trees moved, paths shifted under our feet. I ended up alone. Alone, until the fog rolled in. That's when I saw them. Bodies, half submerged in the boggy earth. Eyes wide open, mouths filled with moss. Some were wearing clothes from this decade, others dressed like they died 100 years ago. Each face locked in horror. Then I saw Daniel. But it wasn't Daniel. His skin looked soaked, his pupils too wide. He reached for me and said in a voice layered with another, "You're hers now." I screamed and ran. I don't remember how I got back to the lake, but I collapsed at the edge. The sun was finally setting, but the reflection showed no sky, only darkness, and faces in the water. I don't know how long I stayed there. When I finally stumbled into a ranger station miles away, alone, covered in mud, dehydrated, raving. They thought I was in shock. Ben and Maya were never found. Daniel's name doesn't come up in any hiker database. And the trail? No record of Dead Switch Trail has ever existed. I wish I could forget what I saw. I wish the lake would forget me. But sometimes, when I sleep, I wake up soaked, mud on my feet, whispers in my ears. I think a part of me is still there. And I don't know how much longer the part that came back will stay me. I never liked lakes. Something about their stillness unsettled me. But when my childhood friend Nate invited me to his grandfather's remote cabin for a weekend getaway, I said yes. After all, Nate, Mia, and Carter were my closest friends. It felt like a chance to reconnect. No phones, no signal, just the 4 of us and nature. The drive to Lake Varro took nearly 6 hours. The last leg was down an unpaved road flanked by thick pine forest. Nate's grandfather had died a year ago, and no one had used the cabin since. The place looked like it had grown straight out of the woods. Weathered logs, a moss-covered roof, and windows fogged over from the inside. The lake sat just beyond the cabin, mirror smooth and silent. No ripples, no ducks, no movement at all. It was surrounded by thick trees, with a narrow dock jutting into the center like a wooden tongue. Nobody ever swims in it anymore, Nate said. Locals say it's got bad memory. I thought he was joking. The first night was uneventful, though a strange chill hung over the water, even as we sat around the fire. Carter tried to fish, off the dock, but nothing bit. Not even insects circled the surface. Mia stood by the edge for a while, staring into the black water. "You hear that?" she whispered later that night. We all paused. It was faint, a soft, wet sound, like something dragging itself along the shoreline. We blamed it on raccoons. The next morning, we woke to find the rowboat gone. Not just adrift, gone. The rope that tied it to the dock had been cleanly snapped, not frayed. Nate swore he tied it tight. We split up to search around the lake's edge. I stayed with Mia. She kept looking out over the water, expression tight. "I had a dream," she said. "I was in the lake, but it wasn't water. It was like lungs, breathing around me." That night I couldn't sleep. The fire had long died out, but I kept hearing something outside. Slosh, scrape, slosh. At one point I crept to the window. I wish I hadn't. Mia was standing on the dock, alone, in the dark. Her head turned slightly, like she knew I was, watching, but she didn't move or speak, just stared down into the black water below her. I called her name through the door. She didn't respond. By the time I reached the dock, she was gone. Not fallen. Gone. No splash. No sound. Just the lake. Still, silent, holding its breath. We searched for Mia until the morning fog swallowed the trees. No footprints. No drag marks. No splash. It was like she stepped off the dock and dissolved. Nate called her name again and again, voice cracking. Carter kept staring at the water, whispering, "She didn't fall. She didn't scream. That doesn't happen." I was starting to believe that the lake hadn't taken her. It had absorbed her. We agreed to stay one more day. The car wouldn't start anyway. The engine clicked, but wouldn't turn over, like something had drained it. Nate checked the battery. It was fine. No signs of tampering. But I noticed something else. There were wet footprints on the cabin porch. Bare, pale prints, leading up to the front door and stopping. They didn't come from the woods. They came from the lake. That night, I refused to sleep. Around midnight, the temperature dropped hard. The fire barely held a flame, even with dry logs. Carter curled up on the couch, mumbling in his sleep. Nate sat with me near the window, shotgun across his lap, eyes bloodshot. He kept whispering Mia's name. Around 3 a.m., we heard it again. Slosh. Scrape. Slosh. Closer than before. Then, a knock on the cabin door. Just once. Not loud. Just a soft, damp thud. Then silence. Nate opened the door before I could stop him. Nobody was there, but something was wrong. The dock was wet, freshly wet, like someone had just walked up it. And on the doorknob, slimy residue, black and thick like algae. It smelled like rot. Nate stepped outside with the flashlight. I followed him. We reached the edge of the lake. Still no wind, no bugs, not even ripples. But on the surface of the water, I saw something rise. Just a little. A face. Not Mia, not quite human. Swollen, grey, eyeless. It sank before Nate saw it, but the flashlight flickered, and for a second, I swear I saw fingers reach up from the water and pull something. "Back down," Carter screamed from inside the cabin. We ran back. He was standing on the table, pointing at the back window. "I saw her," he stammered. "Mia." She was walking past the window, but her eyes, weren't right. That night, I didn't sleep. I kept my eyes on the lake, but the lake didn't blink. It never does. By morning, Carter was gone. His boots were still by the fireplace. The front door hadn't opened. There were no sounds. Just gone. Nate and I tore through the woods, calling his name. We circled the cabin, checked the outhouse, even looked beneath the dock. Nothing, no footprints, no signs of a struggle. Only one thing had changed. On the shore, where the water lapped gently, a trail of bubbles rose in a perfect line from the lake bed, all the way to the spot Carter used to sit. Nate refused to stay another night. He tried the car again, still dead. I begged him to wait until morning, but he grabbed the flashlight and said, "Then I'll walk out. I'm not staying near that cursed water." I never saw him again. Hours passed. I stayed locked in the cabin, all lights off. I pressed my back against the door, eyes on the window, shotgun across my lap. That's when I heard whispering, faint, wet. "Join us." I don't know how long I sat there. But just before dawn, I looked out and saw all of them. Mia, standing half submerged at the edge of the dock, her hair matted in algae. Carter, swaying beside her, half his face missing, pale skin clinging to bone. Nate, still holding the flashlight, his mouth hanging open like he was still screaming. All of them, staring at the cabin. They didn't move, just stood there, water dripping from their jaws. And then they smiled. I don't remember screaming. I must have passed out. When I woke up, it was noon. Sunlight, birds, no figures, no footsteps. And the car, it started on the first try. I drove non-stop until I reached a ranger station. Told them everything. They searched for 3 days and found nothing. No bodies, no tracks, no cabin. They said Deadmore Lake has been dried up for years. The path I claimed to hike was sealed off after a landslide, 10 years ago. I know what I saw, I know what I heard, but no one believes me. To this day, I still hear the water, sometimes when I'm near a sink, or in the shower, or during a storm. It hums to me, soft and steady, calling me back. I haven't slept near a lake in years. I still dream of them, their faces, that smile. I'm not okay. I'm still living in fear, in the memory of that cursed place. And I know, deep down, it's not over. The lake is still waiting. For me. I don't believe in hauntings. I deal with logistics, maps, delivery schedules, freight numbers, cold, clean facts. But last October, I was driving through northern Wisconsin for work, and it got too late to keep going. I saw a flickering neon sign, Lake's Edge Motel, 5 rooms, peeling paint, and a lake just beyond the gravel lot. The owner, Mr. Cartwright, was an older man with a stiff smile. "Only got room 6 left," he said, then paused. Bit of a draft. I was too tired to argue. Room 6 was plain, musty bed, old desk, and a window that faced the lake. The water looked still. Too still. While unpacking, I found a Polaroid under the mattress. It showed this same room, but the wallpaper was different. And in the mirror, a woman stood behind whoever took the photo. Only, no one was in front of the mirror. I showed it to Mr. Cartwright. He barely looked. "People leave things behind," he muttered. "Best not to look too hard." I didn't sleep that night. At exactly 3:12 a.m., the TV clicked on. Static. Then a feed. Grainy, black and white footage of the lake outside. There was someone on the dock. I looked out the window. No one there. But on the screen, they were closer now. Frame by frame. Unmoving, but getting nearer. I turned off the TV and shut the curtains. By morning, I was gone. But the fear stayed. I got home, and tossed the photo into the fireplace. But it didn't stop. 2 nights later, the bathroom mirror fogged up without any hot water running. I wiped it clean. My reflection stared back, but something felt off. Slower than me. Almost delayed. The tap water started tasting metallic. Then, my phone began showing me photos I didn't take. Always the same. A dark lake and someone standing on the dock. Blurry, far, but each time the figure was a little bit closer. I tried calling the motel, number disconnected. I checked online, no listing, no address, no trace. But I couldn't stop dreaming about it. Last night, I was back in room 6 in my dream, staring at the lake through the curtain. Then I heard the door open behind me. I turned around and saw myself walk in, wet, pale, eyes empty. I woke up choking. The bed was damp, but it wasn't sweat. It smelled like the lake. Things got worse fast. The reflection in the mirror, it started lagging. Sometimes it didn't move with me. Sometimes it blinked. Too late. And once, I swear it smiled. But I didn't. The dock figure, it's no longer distant. Every dream, it stands at the edge of the shore now. Close, too close. Last night, I woke up to a sound, wet footsteps in my apartment. The floor was damp, not sweat, not spilled water. Lake water. I tried to leave town, but my car wouldn't start. And when I looked up from the dashboard, I saw room 6 reflected in the rearview mirror. I haven't gone back there, but it feels like the lake has followed me. It's in the mirrors, the pipes, my dreams. And the door to room 6, it's always just about to open when I blink. Whatever that place was, it doesn't let go, not until it's done with you. And somehow, I know, it's not done with me.